What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for September 8th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Quite a few times on the course of this podcast, I've said, hey, we got a big show today. And a lot of times it was true. Sometimes it was just hyperbole. But today truly is a big show. It has been exactly 1 year since I started this day in Philly sports history on a whim back last year. September 8th, 2022. It was the opening day of football. I really don't remember who was playing. It might have been the Bengals and the Chiefs, now that I think about it. But either way, just wanted to talk about and have a creative outlet. That year, the first This Day in Philly Sports History, if you were wondering, was back in 2002. And on this day, the Eagles blew a 24-10 lead to the Tennessee Titans to open the season, losing 27-24, and that's what started this ball rolling. Little did I know, 1 year later, basically what was an offshoot of Back to the Future, which was my main goal, my main podcast at the time, would turn into what it is and ultimately be the breadwinner, the bell cow, if you will, of my portfolio here. Still do Back to the Future. Be sure to check that out. New episode dropped earlier this week. We do our football preview. But it's pretty cool to see how this has grown over the years. It started off as just the YouTube video, then decided to do the mini podcast or micro podcast. And then from here, we've done so many great things, like with the spotlight on Black History Month, Women's History Month. We've done the Lovable Loser Tournament. We're currently doing the Who Wore It Best. We have sponsors now. Partnerships with other podcasts and other people in the sports content space for Philly sports. Never in my wildest dreams did I think. So thank you for listening, because if it wasn't for you, you wouldn't be here. Or I wouldn't be here, I should say. So thank you for that. And one question I do always get is, now, once you get to a year, what are you going to do? And lucky for us, there is just a plethora of historical things and games and ways to go for this in Philly sports throughout the year as I've been planning. I usually plan, I've told you guys this before, a month in advance as I go through. Typically, if there's more than one thing on a date, I put it in the futures tab for that month. So we have plenty of content coming up for the next year. Hopefully we continue to grow this and it can lead to other bigger things. I'm looking at you, Channel 10. You've used my Messy Mania stuff. So I know people are out there listening. If anybody on either 97.5 or 94.1 want a quick daily 5-minute, not even 30-second, 20-minute or 2-minute hit for me every day, hey, I'm available. You'd let me know. You know how to contact me. But again, in all seriousness, that would be great. But seriously, though, thank you guys all for everything you've done. And if you want to show how much you appreciate and how much you listen, buy a shirt. I know I said yesterday it was going to be the last time, but this shirt is amazing. Go to phillygoat.com and celebrate this day in Philly sports history by buying a shirt and using the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. You didn't think I was going to let you go through that without talking about Philly Goat, did you? I'm actually wearing the Philly Goat Ring the Bell shirt today. My buddy Scott kind of gets a little creeped out when I wear it, but we'll keep it at that. But thank you, in all seriousness, thank you for a year. I'm looking forward to the next year. Hard to believe that I didn't miss a day in a year. I was on vacation in Mexico. We've come live from hotel rooms. We've come from Baltimore. We've come from Pittsburgh, Cleveland. It's been great. So let's continue on. Let's continue to make this grow. Like and subscribe. Tell somebody if you're enjoying listening to this every day. Make sure you spread the word. But again, thank you. All right, football season did kick off yesterday. I didn't expect to cash that Lions bet that early, but there was a nice sweat-free way to watch the game. Didn't do so hot on my prop bets. But the Lions did pull it out, and I think there's two takeaways for the Eagles with this. One, I think the Lions are going to be okay. I think, and I don't want to take anything away from the Lions, but I think that was more Kansas City not having many weapons. as much as it was the Lions are a good team. And again, I don't want to take it away, but that should be a cautionary tale for the Eagles going in on Sunday to be prepared. It also, to me, just goes to show that, and I don't know, maybe I'm misreading it, but it just looked like Patrick Mahomes just didn't seem too invested when they showed him on the sidelines and things like that. And that's why I'm glad we have Jalen Hurts. And I mentioned it before, we did the football special for Back to the Future with a PH. Go check that out. I talk a lot about Jalen Hurts and his mental makeup. Phil's back in action tonight. Marlins in for 3, and then the Braves in for 4 next week at Citizens Bank Park. It's going to be a crucial stretch here for the Phils. I'm glad they're at home, but out of 7, they need minimum 4. I would love to see 5 out of these 7 games go the Phils' way. So I'm excited for this weekend. Eagles, Phillies. It's going to be a great weekend, and celebrating my son's birthday on top of it all. So it's going to be a fun weekend here in my house. You want more Phillies coverage? Check out our pals over at 2008 Phils. They have the world's biggest Phillies email newsletter, and currently giving away subscriptions at 75% off exclusively for this day in Philly sports history listeners. One of just the many things I'm grateful for, being able to work with those guys and offer that to you guys. You get the shirt, access to everything on their sites, all the archives, and just you get that awesome T-shirt that I wear all the time and people always ask me about. See, I do wear things other than Philly Goat. But just go check them out. The link will be in the description. Help support them as well. You guys have been great with this. And again, if you guys were not subscribing to this and buying T-shirts, we wouldn't be here, and there would be no reason to mention them. So continue. Thank you for your support. Continue that. Check out 2008 Phils. The description, the link for the subscription is in the description. We'll get there. All right, Sixers news. And I saw this, I read an article yesterday in the New York Post, and it was interesting. And some of it it makes James Harden look even worse. So apparently there were times last year that him and Doc would get into it because he received, quote unquote, preferential treatment where after back-to-back games, I forget where they even were. I'm pretty sure one was in Dallas. That sometimes he didn't have to travel back with the team. He was able to stay in whatever city and experience the nightlife and do his thing there. Apparently, when Doc pushed back, the front office said it was okay, and I read front office to mean Daryl Morey, the same person who James Harden attacked as a liar, no less. And then I think that's really where things went south, because then James perceived the lack of communication from the front office about his contract negotiation as they were trying to ghost him. And that's why he was upset. And that's pretty much like he got angry, pissed off, and opted into that contract is the way I took it from the article. Because the Sixers were shocked that he had opted in because they had planned on re-signing him, according to what the article said. Sources said that they reached out to his people and said, yeah, we're going to give you the contract extension, just be patient. But James Harden got pissed off. And we said, and the question I asked yesterday was, do you think he pouted and that's why he missed the All-Star game? And I think this story kind of corroborates that and says, yeah, he's just a little, for lack of a way to put it, he's just a whiny little bitch. And maybe, just maybe, since we got him for one more year max, maybe we dodged a bullet without having to re-sign him. Maybe the fact that he jumped the gun and signed in, maybe we dodged a bullet. But I thought it was interesting. It was in the New York Post yesterday, and kind of supports the claim that the Sixers had a plan all along, and just Harden just was not patient about it. And also part of the reason he also is part of the reason why Doc Rivers got fired, because Doc Rivers was like fighting this, which I don't blame Doc. So it was just, like I said, it was interesting to see. And then all of that, and then he was very sensitive, I think, is what the article said. And hey, look, I'm fine. Like, it's showing your feelings, but come on, dude. Like, don't be whiny. Like, come on. So I really think we dodged a bullet there. All right, we have some Flyers news. They re-signed restricted free agent Morgan Frost, who was their leading scorer from January 1st on to the end of the season. Nice young forward. And an update to the Mishkov story that we talked about the other day. He did make his debut, and I did read a couple different articles and a couple different sources that said that there's no need for the Flyers to panic. I mean, he's under contract for minimum 3 years over there. It likely won't be coming over, but he's still young enough, so they said not to worry, so I trust those people. All right, today we're going to go back to September 8th, 2003, 1 year after last year's This Day in Philly Sports History, and it was opening day at the Linc. And Sylvester Stallone, they had the montage, which I really watched again. It was really well done on ABC at the beginning of the game. Then they had the real deal, Rocky, after the way they do the intros in the Linc. Sylvester Stallone was up on the one catwalk and got everybody pumped up. They had an awesome laser show to open the season. Like, it was just like a very well done opening for a stadium, especially there in person. The Eagles went for a fake field goal early, missed it, and it all went downhill. The Buccaneers beat the Eagles 17-0. Joe Jurevicius, yes, that Joe Jurevicius had 2 touchdowns. Can't stand him going back to that last game at the Vet too. And you want to talk? We talked about punchable faces on here. Look him up. Joe Jurevicius has a punchable face, and he's a Penn State guy to boot. So, yeah, no love for Joe Jurevicius from me. The Eagles actually would go on to lose to the Patriots the following week, start the season 0-2, not only on the season, but at the Linc. They would battle back to go to the NFC Championship game once again that year. But on this day, it was the Buccaneers spoiling the opening of the Linc with a 17-0 win. Punchable face Joe Jurevicius with 2 touchdowns. So the Bucs ruined the last game at the Vet, first game at the Linc. And that's why people always ask me, why are the Buccaneers in my top 5 hated teams in the NFL? This is part of the reason why. Also, too, I'm talking about partnerships over the year that we've been able to procure and have. Check out my buddies over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. They dropped their new episode for week 1. Exactly what you would expect. And like I said, like, to me, something like that, you have 4 guys, 4 different teams, 4 rivals. And the fact that I'm listening, and then I watched some of the YouTube video as well, and I just want to reach through my screen and smack some of the Cowboys, the Giant, and the Commanders fan. That, to me, is a sign of a good podcast. So go check out the Clashing Conferences podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. All right, one of the fun things we like to do on here is these extra things. And this month, we've been doing Who Wore It Best. Yesterday was number 3, and it pitted Allen Iverson versus Bryce Harper. I have to say the vote went exactly how I expected it to go, and I did not expect some of the great insight and some of the discussion that happened, so I really, really appreciate that. But not so ironically, I guess, Allen Iverson won with 76% of the vote. Imagine that. But I think the general consensus was that if he continues on this trajectory, that Bryce might eventually overtake AI. AI was only here 11 years, 12 if you count the quarter of a season he came back for. It's hard to believe. Bryce has been here 5 seasons already, so he's well on his way. And the other thing that people said was if he had won the World Series, they probably would have voted for Bryce, which I don't necessarily disagree with that. But going to another popular number now in Philly sports history today. Who wore it best? Number 26. Currently in Philly sports wearing 26 is Terrell Edmonds for the Eagles and Sean Walker for the Flyers. Some other notable number 26s: Michael Handzus, Ruslan Fedotenko, Oris Andrew. I'm going to butcher this name. Oris Kranjachuk, who was a Stanley Cup champion with the Flyers back in the 70s. Chuck Klein for the Phillies did wear it 1 year. He's the other guy that has a P retired because he basically changed his number like every year, apparently. They would have had to retire half of the available numbers for Chuck Klein. Miles Sanders, Jay Ajayi, the year after the Super Bowl when they re-signed him, wore number 26. Ben Smith from the old Buddy Ryan days, Michael Haddix, who quite possibly might be the biggest draft bust in Eagles history, which we might be getting more into things like that in the spring. And Kyle Korver, the sharpshooter, who I would love to have somebody who could shoot like that on this team now. But for today, there are 3 guys I want you to vote for. Who wore it best? First, we have Lito Sheppard from the Eagles, played 02 to 08. Probably the best song ever in the Linc when he made a good play, when they played Boz Scaggs' Lito Shuffle. I can still picture the one game where he returned the 100-yard interception return, and like he was like the 30-yard line, and they started playing Lito. All right, Brian Propp, winger for the Flyers, played 11 years, scored 849 points, played from 79 to 90, one of the all-time best to do it for the Flyers. And then everybody's favorite from the 08 Phillies, Chase Utley, played 13 years here, 2003 to 2015. I think if you take it objectively, you could probably make the argument for either one of them. I think the fact that only one of them won a championship, I think probably know who's going to end up winning this. But you tell me, who wore it best? Did I miss anybody? Lito Sheppard, Chase Utley, Brian Propp. Who wore number 26 the best on this day back in 2003? Lincoln Financial Field opened with the Buccaneers shutting out the Eagles 17-0. Spoiling the opening of the Linc, just like they spoiled the closing of the Vet. That is why they're a top 5 hated team for me. Joe Jurevicius has a very punchable face. I'm sorry if you're a Penn State fan. I don't care. He has a punchable face. Check out our friends at 2008 Phils, the Clashing Conferences podcast, and go to Philly Goat to celebrate 1 year and buy a t-shirt. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Thank you so much for being here and listening every day for a year. Looking forward to the next year. Hopefully we got some World Series celebrations, another Super Bowl run in there. So just keep listening. Tell your friends. Spread the word. Let's grow this thing. And if you know anybody at WIP, I am available every day. And listen, they can name the time frame. I'll make it work. But listen, if you know anybody, put in a good word for your boy. But go enjoy your Friday. Again, thank you. Go Phils. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History, as it has every day for the past year. I am Jim Montgomery, and until next time, I will see you when I see you.